Good evening, everyone. I'm JP Tong, and welcome to today's episode of Detox Your Mind. Tonight, I want to talk about something that I think all of us can relate to, and it is the feeling of being burned out. The feeling of being burned out. Most people go through that cycle, and I thought that it would be good for me to talk about it, especially in Malaysia. Well, right now in Malaysia, as we're going through the lockdown, and many people are feeling burned out already. So it will be something. So I thought it would be very beneficial for everyone to understand what feeling burnout is all about, and most importantly, how we can overcome it. All right. So what is feeling burnout? All right. So when we feel burnout, what does that mean? It means that we have this emotion or a mental state, okay, where we feel very drained and very exhausted. This is due to prolonged stress, okay. When we feel burnout, it's not that you're physically tired, because being physically tired will be one of the experience that you have. All right, but when you feel burnout, it is more of an emotional or mental state. All right, so it is over a prolonged period of stress where we no longer can cope with stress. All right, so that is the prolonged situation of stress. So in order to understand what being burnout is all about, we will have to understand what stress is. All right, and I'm sure all of you can relate to that as well. So what is stress? So if you think about it, stress is when you feel stress, it is a reaction to pressure. Pressure from people, can be from others, even yourself. Pressure from yourself or from situations. Okay? Be it in situations like your job, your family, relationships with other people or with your loved ones. It can be due to finances, even health, especially now, even health, because of COVID. So everyone is very anxious, and every time when you go out, it's a very stressful experience, right? So that kind of a pressure can also, over prolonged period, can also develop into stress. Some people are stressed with the unknown. That is why there um, most people actually, in general, are not able to cope with the unknown, and it's a lot of insecurities, a lot of fears. It is something that is not that we have not habituated ourselves with always trying new things. Because why? Many people are creatures of habit. So if you are a creature of habit where you like things of in a certain way and it's very predictable, then when you have to charter, when you have to go to uncharted waters, you will feel that pressure because you're not used to not being in the know. All right, so that itself can give you stress. Changes in our life, right? So now during the lockdown with the COVID pandemic, and there are huge changes in our lifestyle, huge changes, and it's been what, more than a year already, and still people are adjusting to the new norm. Okay, and some people are still finding it very stressful to wear the mask, to be sanitizing all the time. So again, any changes in our lifestyle can also add on to this stress. And if we do not learn how to cope with these changes or these kind of pressure as a result, it will end up being burnout. You will feel burnout. All right, so, but then again, if we talk about stress, there is a flip side to stress, because stress can also be very beneficial. All right, so it is because of the pressure, uh, with your timeline, or with the amount of work. Then with stress, you can actually be more focused and more productive. So there are positive or there are benefits from being from stress. Okay, but today we'll talk about the stress that we cannot cope with, and over time, it will lead to us feeling burned out. Okay, so now again, stress arises from a reaction. So as I always say, whatever people do towards us or whatever situations uh, may be, we always have a choice to react. How we react will determine whether or not we're going to be stressed out. Okay, so how we react will determine whether or not we're going to be stressed out. So that's the key there. And some of you may say, but how do I even control the way I choose? Well, see, I will talk about that shortly. But so remember that is the key. That is the key. All right. So how strongly we react to situations and to people, even reaction with ourselves, because sometimes when we are impatient with ourselves or when we have certain expectations for ourselves, that can also lead to stress as well. So how strong our reaction is will determine how how severe our stress level is going to become. So that's how you gauge, that's how you check your mind. Okay? So the stronger the reaction, the higher your stress level. All right? Okay. So, and how we react, if you go backwards, is also dependent on how we process our thoughts. How we process our thoughts. You see, because when we are not aware of how the mind works, when we have not practiced or trained ourselves on being mindful, we are not able to identify and understand how we think. And that is very important because, it's like a computer. If you want your computer to perform in a certain way with giving you certain results, you first of all need to understand what how is it programmed, step by step by step by step by step. And from the programming and when you dissect it further, you will be able to understand whether or not you will get the desired result. Okay? So I'm giving you that analogy so that you understand that it is necessary to understand in that way, so that when you feel a certain way and when you feel very flustered, you get out of control, and you find yourself always caught in reactions, very negative reactions or very positive reactions, and you're always emotionally driven as a result of your reaction to people and situations, be it positive or negative. You also need to take a step back and have a good look and understand why is it that your mind chooses to react in this way. See, the more you understand the way your mind works, the more you'll be able to help yourself to do what? To dissect it and then take a good look at what thought processes are not beneficial for you and which ones are beneficial for you. And that's very important. And that's how highly successful people think. That's how they think. They always self-assess. They always, take time out to think back, to assess the day's performance, and then see how else they can improve and what else they need to change about themselves in order to get the desired result. And that's why people with that kind of a mindset are very, very successful in whatever it is that they put their minds on. Okay, so again, you can apply this to all aspects of your life, literally. All right, so that's that key point there. All right, so again, about the thought process, so understand that. Okay, so now that you understand how your thoughts are being processed, then you will also realize if you do not if you do not practice mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Being aware. If you don't train yourself to be aware of your thought process, then you will be influenced by what? By your emotions, by your fears, by your insecurities, even habituations. Okay, even habituations. We are so habituated that there are certain things that we don't even realize, and we do it so automatically. So we have to catch ourselves and take a good look. All right, and of course, due to ignorance, well, because if we don't spend time reading or watching videos to understand about how the mind works, then obviously you don't have a point of reference. Then you will not know how to have a good look and assess your own mind. All right, so before I continue, let's see who's here. Good evening. Um, Copland, Sharon, hi. Agnes, hi. Jesse, Kirsten, Esther, hi. Nancy, Lucim, Caroline, Sofan, Yiman, Mandy, Waiting, Lily, and Lai Hing. Hi, Lai Hing, long time no see. And thank you very much for tuning in. Okay, so because we do not practice mindfulness training, then what happens is you focus a lot on your emotions, and perhaps you dwell into your emotions, and for some people you suppress it. And over time, that's where your stress level builds up. Okay? Um, and also, without mindfulness training, you will not be able to identify the root cause of the reaction that leads to your emotions. And hence, again, that will also lead to you being stressed out. And without mindfulness training, you will not be able to ground your mind and remain calm. Now, why is that important? Because, okay, so you can take a look at this rubber band. Now, this is your mind. Every time when you choose to react, either positively or negatively, it will stretch, and it will stretch, and it will stretch, and it will stretch, and it will stretch. Okay, so what happens is when we calm our mind, like I always say, the chill time. Okay, I that's the new terminology that I use for stilling your mind or meditation. But you see, meditation, as I always say, has that connotation whereby people always say, "Oh, I can't meditate, I can't sit still," and so I call it chill time. It sounds more cool. And you can chill, and as I always say, you can just focus on your cup of coffee that you drink in the morning. Just have to ground your mind for 5-10 minutes every day. As you're drinking your coffee, just focus on drinking the coffee, or you're drinking the tea, whatever it is. Focus on it for 5-10 minutes if you are not comfortable with focusing on your breath for whatever reasons. Okay, so there are many, many other ways of focusing. So, anyways, okay, there is a question. I'll get to it very shortly. Now, just let me explain this. So, when we don't take the time out to kind of conscientiously ground the mind, that means letting the mind relax and just stay calm like this, without any pressure. And if we keep stretching it, whether it is a positive emotion or a negative emotion, you keep stretching it, and you keep stretching it, and you keep stretching it. After a while, it will give way. It will give way after a while. So that's why it's very important to ground yourself so that you give your mind a break. Okay, either way, you are going to break this if you stretch it too much. Okay, so if it is very negative, when it snaps, that's where you have an emotional tsunami. And when you are always on the high, as in you're always ecstatic, and you are, just caught up with all your indulgences. Okay, you're caught up in all your indulgences that gives you that sort of a sensorial gratification, and you feel really good about it, and you keep stretching it and you keep stretching, because why? Because it will never be enough, and you keep stretching it and keep stretching it and keep stretching it, and after a while it will snap, and it will snap, and after a while you will feel empty, because, well, there's only so many things you can do on planet Earth. Okay, and I know people who have been traveling the world, around the world, literally, over and over again, over again, because what else can they do? What else can they do? And after a while, they become bored, because they are very used to um, fulfill, what do you call it, indulging in sensorial, in pleasing their senses, and that is what happens, because after that, there's so much you can feed your indulgence. After a while, you will get bored of it, and then what else is there to do? And that's where people feel very stressed as a result. Okay, I hope this is a good analogy so that you can actually visualize it. Okay, now I'm going to answer the first question. Hi, Chinfei. JP, just now you mentioned that the bigger reaction you have towards a situation, the more anger you have. Not the more anger, but stress, the more stress you will have. What about reacting coldly towards negative situation? Is it also a mental problem, like shutting down because you were hurt before? Well, you see, when you react coldly, you being cold is a form of reaction to a person or to a situation. Okay, so I wouldn't say it is a mental problem, but it is a choice that the person makes, either intentionally or as a result, or unintentionally, meaning that they're habituated. So they're habituated to automatically have that sort of a reaction because of the past experiences that have influenced them, or that have led them to have this automatic reaction. Now, is it a mental problem? I wouldn't say it's a mental problem. It may not serve you as a person, because why? Because you're holding on to the past. You're holding on to the past, and you're allowing yourself to live your life in the past. In the past, meaning although you are in the present, and whatever has happened to the past is already gone, it's over, but you are living as though right now, the present time, it's as though that past is still haunting you. So whatever that you do in your life, you are still looking at or perceiving life with that lens that is been polluted by or tainted by your past experiences. So it may not warrant you to have that cold reaction, because when you react cold to a situation, to to a person, you are not allowing yourself the opportunity to perceive truth. Yeah, because why? Because you're looking at it based on your past experience, and you're not giving yourself a chance to have more opportunities for yourself. Because why? Different person, different time, different situation, different time. So although it may look similar, but the outcome may not be the same. So when we do that, you will shut yourself out of opportunities in your life, because you're just stuck. And another disbenefit is that you will also be a person that is very angersome, okay, and very negative, because you keep holding on, and you will always feel burdened. You will never feel that you can be yourself and just go, ah, and you will never feel free, liberated. Okay, so it's not a problem, but I think again it is a choice that one needs to make. If you want to be happier, to be more at peace, to have more clarity in your mind, then definitely there's something to work on. Okay, I hope that explains it, Chinfei. And another question: I read online there are people suffering from silent depression. They are numb to many things in daily life, including emotions. How to help these people? Yes, I definitely can tell you how because I used to be like that. I went through a depression, as all of you know by now. I keep talking about it. Um, Before I joined Kechara, and to a point that I didn't even realize it. And also, there was and at that time, I numbed my depression and my unhappiness and all that to a point that I didn't feel anymore. And when situations were happy, I wasn't like wow. I was just okay, happy, and that was it. And when situations are supposed to be sad, I couldn't even cry. I just said okay, sad, but not like like very emotionally sad. So I was just how would I say jaded. I was just emotionless. And I thought, well, as you grow older, that's the way, right? But only much later did I realize that because I've been suppressing my feelings so much so due to stress and my expectations not being met and so on and so forth. So it's self-inflicted, you see. It's all self-inflicted. Why is it self-inflicted? Because like I always say, whatever happens, that you always have a choice how you want to react. If we go through life projecting expectations that my life should be like this, people should be like this, my work should be like this, my boss should be like this, and so on and so forth. And when it doesn't happen, then definitely you are going to be very disappointed. And when you keep being disappointed, you feel very happy. And it also adds on to the stress because you get very stressed out by whatever it is that do not meet your expectation. And over time, your burnout can actually manifest to being numb, exactly what you said, because you suppress your feelings so much because you're so burned out and there's no way out. So what's the next best thing? You withdraw yourself emotionally by suppressing it. And that is what happened to me and to many people as well, because nobody taught us how to cope with stress. Nobody taught us how to cope with our expectations about our mental state of our mental health. I'm not saying I'm cuckoo, you see, because when I say mental health, people always have a connotation that, oh, I mean, like, are you mentally unwell? No, it's like our body, our physical health and mental health, and that's what everyone is talking about right now. That both just as important. Mental health is it's about learning how to cope with our life because nobody taught us that. So just like when we were a baby, somebody taught us how to walk and how to run. So same thing. So mental health is, well, let's teach you how to process your thoughts and teach you how to so that you can react in a way that will benefit you ultimately. And that's what it is, because otherwise you keep stretching and you keep stretching it, this is going to snap. And that's what it is. All right? So how do we help these people? Well, how did Rinpoche help me is this. Is that Rinpoche made me focus on, you see, when I joined Kechara, as you know, Kechara is a non-profit organization. So a lot of things that we do, all the projects that we do are to benefit others. So Rinpoche made me extremely busy and just got me to focus on my projects one after another, one after another. And because these projects were beneficial to others, so it was not something that was for self gratification. It didn't make me wealthy. I didn't do it to please others. So it was nothing. It was not for any expectation for myself, but for as a charity to others. And I'll explain afterwards how that is beneficial. So, so instead of focusing on me and my expectation, the work that was assigned to me allowed me to focus on the work that was beneficial for others. So through years and years and years of keeping me busy, focusing out, that helped me lessen um, my depression and allowed me to slowly open up. Because why? You see, because that's how the mind works. When we keep thinking about things that we're not happy with or that we're happy with, either way, you keep feeding it and you keep feeding it and you keep thinking about it and you keep replaying it again and again and again and again and again, it will just stay there, because you keep feeding it. So all that negative emotions that you have and you keep replaying it, it will stay with you and it will never go away. So when we practice mindfulness training, you will realize this: if we watch it, and instead of analyzing it and thinking about it, you watch that emotion arise and you watch it go, and you focus on your breath, or if on a daily basis, then you focus on whatever work it is that you have, and do a good job on your work. That emotion will pass. It's not like you forgot about it. It's not like you forgot your issues. It's just that your emotions will pass. Okay, emotions arise and they go. They arise and they go. All right. So why is it important for the emotions to go? Because why? When the emotions are allowed to transition to go, then your mind becomes clearer. All right. As we all know, we cannot think clearly when our mind is clouded with emotions, and that's basically it. All right. So that's what happened for me. So for other people, okay, when they suffer from burnout, I will talk about it. Okay, I will talk about how we can do that. All right. So the conventional way of overcoming a feeling of burning out is, well, number one is you have to identify. You have to even realize that you are burnt out, because many people don't realize that they're burnt out. So acknowledge and identify and acknowledge that you are burnt out. That's one. Then normally, as everyone does, take a break. Go for an exercise, you go for a spa, you go on vacation. Some people will indulge in food, or they go for shopping therapy, or they go for a drink. That's the conventional way. Okay, but you see, as we all know, that every time when we feel drained and we're burnt out from work or from your everyday life, we want to take a break, go to the beach, go to the mountains. You want to go on a vacation. All right, and then after that you come back, and then you do the same thing, and then the cycle repeats. Okay, so it's very temporary. So what is a more permanent or longer lasting method of overcoming? Now, especially now during the lockdown. Again, like I say, people are feeling very burnout. It's that fatigue. It's the lockdown fatigue. What does that mean? It's that stress. What is the stress about? The stress is about you not being able to cope with doing something different. And what is different? You are confined within the walls of your home, and you're not used to that. Okay, so and I talk about that a lot. When we are so habituated with our daily lifestyle without even realizing about our habituation, now that there, you have no choice but to stay home for your own safety, your body goes through a withdrawal syndrome. So because of that, that's where your emotions are going haywire. You can't sit still. Even your body is reacting. You're aching all over your body that has never ached before, and so on and so forth. So, but realize that and be okay with it. Be okay with it. A lot of people, again, before you even start acknowledging it, you kind of give yourself a guilt trip that, hey, why am I so weak? Why am I feeling so vulnerable? And a lot of people find it very difficult to embrace and be okay with being not okay. Okay, and if you're not okay with being not okay, that adds on to the stress. So again, before you even get started, you're already adding on. So let's stop that. Be okay. Experience your experience. So be okay with that experience. So that's one. Okay, I'm not saying be stagnant. I'm just saying be okay. Tell yourself it's okay to feel what you feel. Okay, so that's number one. And number two, identify what is it. Identify what is it that you are stressed about. Now, you can only do this when you develop the habit of what? Mindfulness training, okay, which I call the chill time. You got to chill. You got to just sit back, relax, right? So, well, with this lockdown, you can't sit back and relax on the beach, but it's okay. You can sit back and relax on your favorite sofa or your favorite chair or your bed and have a cup of herbal tea that will soothe your nerves, whatever it is to help you relax and do that. And then really think about it. Okay, if you are too caught up with your stress or feeling burnout, then just focus on your breath or just focus on a cup of tea. You see, like this, just focus on it and focus on drinking. Okay, savor that tea, savor it. And when you savor it and when you focus on the taste, it's another form of focusing. All right? It's 5-10 minutes every day. You just do that. Mindfulness training is to strengthen our control of the mind. And that's very important because all emotions arise from the mind. So realize that. All right? Realize that. And when you actually can do that, then you will be able, so when your emotions are arising, like your stress is arising, immediately what you can do is you can calm your mind with your chill time by spending a little bit of chill time by grounding yourself. And that is very good. And when you keep doing it and you keep doing it over time, you will be able to just bounce back and be calm within seconds. Okay, in the beginning, it may take you a few minutes to ground yourself, but through practice, you will perfect it. Okay, so develop the habit of mindfulness training. That's very, very important if you want to handle your stress better. Now, and also develop the habit of keeping a gratitude journal. I've always said this gratitude journal, why? It trains our mind to look at, to focus on the abundance that we already have. Okay, whatever it is that we have, we focus on that instead of focusing on what we don't have, which a lot of people do. Oh, I wish I have that. I wish I had that. Oh, I'll be a lot happier. So again, everything is very conditional. Our happiness, we've been so habituated, with being happy that it is so conditional. We are only happy if this happens or if we have that, and that is that habituation. That's how our culture has brainwashed us to think like that. That is our thought process. Okay, so I'm not brainwashing you to snap out of it and say, hey, happiness is a choice. And how does that work? Practice gratitude. Practice gratitude. I think it was I think last week's workshop after this, because after this program, we have the workshop, and I told that everyone there. I've been to, I have met very, very, I've met people who are like the poorest of the poor, and I've also met people who are filthy rich. And I noticed this. People who believe in karma, like when I went to India and Nepal, I mean, there were just, the streets were just strewn with very, very poor people. But I noticed one thing. There's always a smile. There's always a smile, there's always a twinkle in the eye, and they're not depressed and all that. And I realized why is because in their religion, their culture, they believe in karma. So they believe that, well, since they're born in that situation because of the karma, because karma is cause and effect, then they accept it. So as soon as you accept that situation, you make the best out of it. And it is just that change of perception that makes life easier. that makes life easier. I'm not saying that they are lazy. I'm just saying that they accept the situation and they make the best out of the situation. They make the best out of the situation. And immediately that, they you feel that they are very happy where they are. So I'm not judging, but I'm just letting you know that it's that shift of the perception. So what am I saying here? What am I saying is with the gratitude journal, it will enable you to be able to focus on the positive things that you are blessed with. Okay? No matter how no matter what you think right now, there's so I mean, like I always say, I'm so blessed that I can talk to you without my mask. And there's fresh air, clean air, there's electricity, there's a roof over me right now, and so on and so forth. And my health is pretty good. There's so many things to be grateful for. So practice, 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 and that'll be very, very good. All right? Um, and understand your fears and insecurities and work on them. So when you are doing your when you're practicing on your mindfulness training, you will have that control and the resilience of the mind to be able to look into you, to understand your fears and insecurities much, much, much better. Okay, and again, you can do something that's therapeutic during this lockdown. You can do a bit of gardening. Exercising is very good. So if whatever I say, because you've not been training yourself to be, with this mindfulness training, and you cannot control your emotions, fine. Do something that's therapeutic. Gardening, exercising. It can be ironing your clothes, because I like ironing clothes because to me that's very therapeutic. You can read, or you can drink, a cup of herbal tea. Whatever it is that soothes you for the now. I find exercising very good as well. See, I'm very blessed here because I live in Kechara Forest Retreat. There are 34 acres for me to walk around um, when I feel stressed. So I walk around, and after that I sweat it out and I feel good. So again, find your way to calm the mind. Like as I always say, the mind is like this elastic band. If you keep stretching it, it will break. It will give way. So find a way to calm it temporarily. Okay. Yeah. So develop a habit of doing all these activities, exercising. If you're doing yoga, great. Do a bit of yoga. If you know qigong, do that. Cycling, running. Basically, sweat it out. Okay, and that's very good already. And also, start noticing your expectations. Start noticing your expectations on others and yourself. And always realize this: expectations can differ from one culture to the other, because I always ask people to, to watch your expectations and not have so much expectations. Then they say, then how do you progress in your life? You can have aspirations. Okay, aspirations are something that you can strive towards. Expectations is that you expect it, you want it to fit into that cookie cutter of yours. So if your cookie cutter is square and reality is round, and you keep wanting to force it into that cookie cutter, it's going to be a lot of pressure. Okay, so again, stress can also come from our own expectations. Okay, it can. And that is why we have to be mindful that when we are stressed with whatever it is that we're doing or not doing, some people are stressed when they're not doing anything. So either way, okay, you can be stressed. And if you feel that, take a step back, chill, and watch that emotion pass. And when that emotion has passed, check in. What is that stress about? What is that stress about? And it usually have to do with it usually has something to do with your expectation about something. Okay? Nothing in life is set in stone. All right? a lot of people debate with me, oh, but it's this, it's that. And I say, now, it is not the universal truth. It is something that's made by culture. Because how do you check whether or not it is universal truth? If you go to every culture and it's the same, and if you go through history and it's the same, that's a universal truth. Like birth is a universal truth, death is a universal truth, sickness is a universal truth. Okay. Um, in some cultures, women don't have rights. So when you talk to people from that culture, they'll say that's the truth. Then you go, but well, in Malaysia, women do have rights. Then you go, oh, okay. So that's how you check whether or not it is the truth. So what I'm saying is this: check your expectation no matter what, because that is the key there. All right. Let me see. There are some comments here. Which crystal is suitable for Maha Buddhism? Sorry, I don't do crystals, and I don't do Buddhism here. This is a lifestyle series on psychology and how the mind works. Okay, so I'm not able to help you on that. And Florence, hi Florence Tambakau. Accepting what is in the reality of situation could at least reduce one's stress level. Yes, and also again we have to be very careful, because how we perceive reality is also, if we lack training, is also influenced by our expectations and our fears and insecurities. Okay, so, and if you have not been following me on my previous programs, you can watch those previous programs, because I talk about different aspects of the mind and how we can address it, so that when we understand the different aspects of the mind and how it works, then we also understand what pollutes it and what taints it, that is blocking it from us perceiving reality. And when we perceive reality as it is, without all these pollution, then we'll be able to make better choices in our life. And that is what Detox Your Mind program is all about, is when you learn how to detox your mind and gain clarity, and because of that, you can make better choices in life. You are able to live your fullest life and your fullest potential. And that's how it is. All right, so I think I have passed my half an hour program. So thank you very much. And I guess there's not much questions. Do we have any more questions? Okay, I will have a workshop shortly at 9:45 in a few minutes' time. So if you like to join the workshop, whereby I will walk you through today's topic, and I'll walk you through the meditation and understand on a deeper level what I've spoken about, then you're most welcome to join me. All right, there is an email that's on the comment section. BeMindful@Kechara.com. Email to the administrator, and the administrator will be able to give you the Google Meet link, and I can see you there. All right, so before I say goodbye to all of you, let me acknowledge today's sponsor. The first sponsor is Ms. Julie Koo, dedication dedicated to everyone. The second sponsor, Anonymous, dedication. May Kechara continue to have resources to grow far and wide, and may everyone always be blessed with wisdom, kindness, and compassion. Third sponsor, Lam Kok Wen and family, dedication. May all participants have inner peace and happiness. And the last sponsor is Anonymous, dedication, dedicated towards all beings' liberation from suffering and attainment of compassion, wisdom, and true happiness. So thank you very much for contributing to sustaining our online program for everyone. With your sponsorship, we are able to give you to pay for the cost of running these programs for all of you. All right, so on that note, take care, and I will see you next Saturday, same time.